My name is Casey, and Aristotle once asserted that justice is the order of society. While I comprehend the concept of order as the rationale necessary for societal organization, the definition of justice remains elusive. Justice is a term that signifies the correctness of human actions, but what is considered right can vary based on era, regional characteristics, religion, race, and various other factors. In historical contexts, defeating the enemy in war was deemed justice, and for certain religious followers, adherence to their teachings represented the highest form of justice. Yet in today's society, harming an enemy is considered a crime, and those unaffiliated with particular religions may not find justice in their doctrines. This philosophical discussion prompts me to wonder how Aristotle would explain it. I believe that establishing and upholding rules for a safe and secure society embodies the justice demanded in our current world. My contemplation about justice has deep roots, largely influenced by my father, who held strong convictions against injustice and wrongdoing. Raised by a father with a profound sense of justice, I developed a keen interest in the subject from a young age. TV dramas about prosecutors, judges, and lawyers further fueled my curiosity during middle school. While I followed the trends like any other teenager, my genuine interest in the nature of legal professions set me apart. My father's impactful talks and the allure of legal dramas led me to aspire to study law in college. Despite initially being drawn to law by the popularity of legal dramas, my passion for the subject became genuine over the years. I entered college, where I excelled in my studies, and after graduation, I explored various career paths. Eventually, my interest in legal work resurfaced, leading me to secure a position at the Bar Association, where I oversee lawyers in the state. Working in the legal field has broadened my perspective on society, providing valuable life experiences. Devoting myself to aiding the underprivileged facing societal injustices became the focal point of my life's mission. This commitment led me to immerse myself so deeply in this cause that time seemed to slip away, and I found myself approaching my 30s. At that juncture, the president of the Bar Association, where I was employed, suggested a transfer to the Boston branch. According to him, Boston grappled with significant issues, and he believed my efforts could contribute to cleansing the city. Appreciative of his recognition of my abilities and enticed by the new challenge, I accepted the offer. In the United States, becoming a lawyer entails membership in a state bar association, a private organization overseeing lawyers' activities. While law firms handle cases directly, my role involved managing a legal consultation service for the public. Contrary to common belief, there are more individuals in legal distress than one might think, and my goal was to assist as many as possible. Within our bar association's jurisdiction, a notable firm stood out for its dedication to public legal consultations. Though partially a business strategy to attract clients, their active involvement in less profitable areas demonstrated a genuine commitment to aiding the public. Stanley, a lawyer at this firm, actively participated in our legal consultation service. I admired his citizen-centric approach, always striving to understand the client's perspective. Casey, the consultation desk is open until 5 p.m. today. Let's try to help as many people as possible, he would say, showcasing a dedication beyond the ordinary. As we spent more time working together, Stanley and I grew closer, discussing various matters, including work. During one conversation, he mentioned being troubled by a case he was handling. Cautiously, I inquired about the details, prefacing with an acknowledgement that it was okay to decline sharing. Despite any reservations he might have had discussing it with a staff member like me, he shared the intricacies of the case openly and casually. I was elated by his trust and eager to assist in any way possible. The case had two crucial points, and as I attentively listened, potential solutions began to surface. I carefully selected my words and expressions to avoid appearing presumptuous, sharing my thoughts with a cautious tone. To my delight, he genuinely appreciated my input. "Wow, I hadn't thought of that. Thanks, that's really helpful," he expressed with an untroubled smile. allowing me to rediscover his open-mindedness and rich humanity. About half a month later, Stanley approached me, visibly delighted. "Thanks for your advice the other day. Everything went well, just as you suggested, Casey." The client was satisfied, and it even boosted my reputation. "I'm glad I could help. You know, Casey, you're really knowledgeable about law and adept at problem solving. Did you ever work as a paralegal at a law firm?" he inquired. Unable to provide a straightforward answer due to the nature of my job at the administration office, I had to be vague. "Oh no, I just studied a bit of law. It helps with my job at the administration office." "I see, but you're really talented and smart. As a thank you, would you let me treat you to a meal?" Despite my hesitation, Stanley insisted, saying, "Please, I'd really like to treat you to dinner." I ended up accepting the invitation, genuinely pleased. The restaurant he chose was stylish yet relaxed, a departure from my usual focus on work. Stanley proved to be a great conversationalist, passionately discussing his job and sharing interesting hobbies outside of work. As the evening neared its end, Stanley expressed his gratitude. "Thanks for joining me today. I invited you under the pretext of thanking you for the other day, but I've wanted to ask you out for a long time. I'm glad I finally got the chance, and I don't want it to be just for today." With these words, Stanley earnestly asked me to be his girlfriend. Being approached in such a manner was a first for me, and after a moment of initial astonishment, I found myself responding naturally, "Yes, I'd be happy to." Our relationship blossomed, adding a refreshing delight to my daily life. Stanley frequently sought my advice about work, and my earnest efforts to assist seemed to be precisely what he needed. Witnessing his happiness brought me joy, and I felt like a supportive partner behind the scenes. The idea of marriage crossed my mind, and as if in response, Stanley proposed with a ring, exclaiming, "Casey, will you marry me?" Overwhelmed with gratitude, I exclaimed, "Thank you, God." And so we embarked on the journey of marriage. Becoming a married woman was a recent development that felt incredibly surreal to me. My parents and younger brother blessed our union, and I found true happiness in it. However, my uncle, who had always cherished me since my childhood, congratulated me on my marriage with a troubled expression. My father explained that my uncle was likely feeling melancholic about me, whom he considered as a daughter, getting married. Married life, albeit full of trial and error, brought enjoyable challenges. The satisfaction from each new discovery undoubtedly defined what happiness truly felt like. I continued working and discussing matters with Stanley, who graciously accepted household responsibilities. Both of us being employed, Stanley's considerate words deeply touched me, emphasizing the importance of cooperation as a couple. We celebrated our first wedding anniversary together, yet I couldn't shake off a growing concern regarding Stanley. First, he ceased working at the public consultation desk and began avoiding duties at the bar association and the law firm. While I understood his need for independence in decision-making, his recent behavior raised red flags. Stanley started returning home increasingly late, sometimes after midnight, citing work as the reason. Despite my worries about his health and well-being, he brushed off my concerns, asserting his dedication to work. His abrupt business trips on weekends further fueled my apprehension, leaving me to question the nature of his work engagements. My anxiety peaked when I found a long hair on his suit, sparking doubts and confusion about his actions. Despite my attempts to make sense of the situation, clarity eluded me until one fateful day when Stanley mentioned another weekend work commitment. Seeking a change of scenery, I decided to venture into the city. As I strolled toward my favorite store in the downtown area, my gaze caught someone emerging from a nearby alley, and I froze in place. It was Stanley, who should have been working at that time. The surprise of seeing him at this hour was enough, but what left me more astonished was the woman walking beside him, their fingers intertwined like lovers. Surprisingly calm, I detachedly thought, "So that's how it is." Unconsciously, my feet followed them, and about 10 minutes later, they vanished into an entertainment district. That night, I sat quietly on the living room sofa, awaiting Stanley's return. At 12:30 a.m., he arrived humming a tune, However, upon seeing me sitting there, he gasped in surprise. "Welcome back, Stanley. You seem to have had a good time. Hard work, right?" "You're up. Good time?" "It was work, not exactly fun. Today, I went to the city. I saw you and a woman entering a suspicious place. How long have you been cheating?" I calmly confronted him. Stanley flinched momentarily but quickly regained composure. "What are you talking about? That's a big misunderstanding. If you saw us, you should have called out. She's a client. We had a meeting in that lounge, that's all. Really, just a meeting in a lounge. And you had to pick up a key at the front desk. That's an interesting system." "I didn't know that," I responded coolly, suppressing my emotions. "You saw that far. Even so, you can't just conclude it's cheating. What if I was just escorting her to her room?" "Really, you're quite kind to your clients," Stanley retorted angrily, sensing my attitude of seeing through everything. Frustrated, he continued, "Oh, this is so annoying. There's no proof of me cheating, right? Anyway, I have something to say. It's a good opportunity. Let's get divorced. I'm tired of you, Stanley. You think of me like that. We've been married just over a year. Is there no love left?" Facing me, Stanley's demeanor changed completely as he began to speak about the limited love at the beginning. "I thought you looked younger than your age, so having you as my wife wasn't bad. And you're good at solving problems, so I thought you might be useful." That's a terrible thing to say. Looking younger than my age, it's the truth. I thought you'd be useful, but you weren't a disappointment, so you're no longer needed. I'll divorce you and marry someone more useful to me. Once I had thought Stanley was a wonderful man, but perhaps this was his true self. With my limited experience in love, I couldn't see through Stanley's real nature, and that was frustrating. "So you cheated because of this? Come on, how many times do I have to say it? Is there any proof of me cheating?" "Our divorce. Well, let's call it irreconcilable differences, a 50/50ths split." 50/50ths, but that doesn't sound right. Wouldn't this be a case for claiming compensation in a divorce trial? Stanley seemed confident, believing he wouldn't be exposed to me. That seemed foolish, and I couldn't help but laugh, ruining my attempt to remain cool and collected. "Are you sure about that?" Stanley's face contorted in surprise at my sudden change of demeanor. "Your partner was Sarah, right? The receptionist at the office. You thought her father, who owns a big law firm, could be useful to you. How do you know about Sarah? Sorry to say, but even though we're married, I didn't share everything with you. I'm capable of many things, like this, for example." I handed him a piece of paper, and Stanley trembled in disbelief as he looked at it. A written statement from Sarah promising she would never see Stanley again. After witnessing them together that day, I had waited and caught them coming out. Though they split up immediately, I managed to speak with Sarah alone since Stanley returned home late at night. I approached Sarah after she was left alone, informing her that I was aware of her involvement and the affair. Knowing who I was, she was visibly shaken. I took her to a nearby restaurant, where I made her write a statement agreeing not to engage in any sexual or communicative relationship with Stanley in the future. Taking her to a public place ensured the statement was written voluntarily, without coercion or threats. Seeing the statement, Stanley gripped it tightly, shaking. "Just writing this means yes." The statement doesn't apologize for the affair, but it essentially admits to it. You, as an excellent lawyer, understand this could be a significant piece of evidence in court, right? Stanley began to shake with the statement in his hand. Of course, the statement was a copy, so tearing it up wouldn't matter. Then I presented Stanley with further proof of the affair, WhatsApp conversations between him and Sarah, receipts from restaurants they frequented on dates, and more. "Since when did you gather all this?" The confidence Stanley had earlier vanished, and his face turned pale. "I'm glad to hear I'll be receiving $500,000 in compensation. My investigative skills and knowledge were honed after graduating from college, working at my father's detective agency. My father's sense of justice was put into practice by leading a company that exposed societal injustices. I was drawn to my father's work due to a shared sense of justice. For 2 years, I delved into the world of investigation, partly influenced by a detective TV show at the time. Perhaps, like my aspiration to enter the world of law, this was another sign of my personal growth. However, this experience proved invaluable in my later work. As I slowly pulled out a badge from my pocket and pinned it on my chest, Stanley's eyes widened in disbelief. The badge I wore wasn't a detective's. It was a lawyer's badge. "Sorry I didn't tell you. I am a lawyer just like you," I explained. Normally, one would proceed to law school after college, but I joined my father's agency for training and later enrolled in law school, eventually becoming a lawyer after completing the JD program. The president of the Bar Association where I first found employment was my uncle. Wanting to work broadly for the public, I requested to be affiliated with my uncle's office. I also placed my name at my uncle's law firm and gained experience as a lawyer. With my uncle's help, I managed to juggle these two roles, although it was physically demanding. My investigative skills honed at my father's office often proved necessary in legal practice. Over the years, my name became known in the legal world. I transferred to the current Bar Association in Boston, recommended by my uncle, while continuing to work at his firm and serving as a member of the disciplinary committee. As someone in a position to judge lawyers, I had refrained from revealing this fact even to my husband, Stanley. Now aware of my true identity, Stanley was in a state of shock. "Stanley, it seems you've been quite bad. A person of sound judgment has filed a complaint, and the disciplinary committee has already started to take action." What Stanley was doing was guiding people in tax evasion at the public consultation desk, identifying financially struggling individuals and craftily proposing tax evasion, teaching them the methods, and making money from it. Subsequently, Stanley was arrested by the police. His tax evasion guidance was not just a solo act. He was the mastermind of a large organized operation involving multiple people. The FBI, conducting an undercover investigation, stepped in. The prosecutor in charge of the case was my brother, who, like me, had pursued a career in law and had been appointed as a prosecutor. The disciplinary committee is currently deliberating on Stanley's case, and it's likely he will face the most severe sanction, disbarment. The divorce with Stanley was finalized. I plan to claim the maximum amount of compensation, though it won't reach $500,000. However, I doubt a convict like unemployed Stanley will have the capacity to pay. My uncle apologized to me. He had suspected something amiss under the current Bar Association's management and hoped that I would uncover it by transferring there. At that time, he didn't know the details and had no idea who the culprit was, but he felt uneasy about my marriage to Stanley, a lawyer of the same Bar Association. It all made sense why he had a troubled expression when I announced my marriage, but it wasn't his fault. It was my shortcoming for not seeing people's true nature. I'm determined to avoid losing trust in people because of this incident. I want to continue using the law for the good of society and for justice.